Hey guys. I want to thank Daniel McCoy and Daniel Zelinsky, latest contributors to my GoFundMe. That really helps me a lot, guys. Allows me to focus on this and treat it as if it's my job. And if I can look at it like that while I'm waiting for my other creative stuff to come through, I've got multiple films coming out next year, new book. But in the meantime, instead of going to a 9 to 5, I'd love to create content that you guys enjoy and appreciate. So if you can hit the GoFundMe or buy my book, I appreciate it. If not, text the videos to 3 or 4 of your friends. Tell people about it. That helps too. And I appreciate the love and I appreciate the support. And I'm sorry that I'm a glorified telemarketer every time I'm on here, but it's just the beginning of the channel. I'm really trying to get things cracking. And I appreciate everybody that understands that and thinks that I'm not trying to scam them, because that's not what it is. You enjoy my content. I enjoy doing it. And yeah, so let's get into the story. So when we left off, I'm tripping on acid in federal prison in the hole with Boots, who has a Morgan Freeman complex. Did you know that the Negroes can't swim? And I'm like, a lot of stuff like that. And I'm not, this like really happened just like the way I'm telling you. I mean, this guy was talking like some black scholar. No other better word for it. I'm having the bad trip about my parents, so it's the multifaceted thing, and it's just this confluence of really uncomfortable stuff. Neo-Nazi, parents, and all the pain I've put them through. Neo-Nazi that's masquerading as Morgan Freeman. 3 things that I don't like. So I start screaming, try to put the blanket over my face to muffle it. That doesn't work. Boots hears me, starts kicking, he's on the bottom bunk, he starts kicking the top bunk, and it feels like the reverberations of like some battlefield. There's like missiles, and that's what it feels like when I'm tripping. I mean, it's like actual palpable anxiety. So he comes up, he's like, "What's wrong with you?" I start screaming. CO comes, and he's like, "What's wrong with you? Why do you keep yelling?" He's doing his rounds. Now, people yell all day in the hole, but I guess he was doing his rounds, and he heard me yelling, and he heard Boots kicking the bed, and who knows, probably thought we were butt fucking or something. So CO looks at me and he's like, "Is everything okay in there? What is wrong with you?" And I lock my eyes in with him. Now, I'm no novice when it comes to tripping on psychedelics and having to act like I'm not. Several times I've been to high school on mushrooms, on acid. I've had to sit through very, very uncomfortable dinners with my parents, with girlfriends' parents, and I've always been able to keep my composure. I kind of pride myself in that. But, this particular time, secret to that is if you're feeling uncomfortable, make eye contact with somebody while you're tripping, because you get so inside your head about it, when you start staring at somebody, you're almost like, paralyzed by distraction. You're trying to just concentrate, and the LSD allows that to happen. So that's my game plan. I'm staring at this overweight CO. "What's wrong with you?" Just staring, saying nothing. Eye contact. Boots is doing the same. And I go, "I'm on acid." Boots is like, grabs me, right? Like, he grabs me like by my lower back with the t-shirt. CO's like, "What?" I'm like, "I am on acid." And he leaves. Boots is like, "Not Morgan Freeman anymore. That facade has been dismantled." He's not acting like that anymore. Now he is anal, upset, skinhead from San Pedro with a Hitler portrait tattooed on his throat. It's like, "What are you doing, man?" And I'm like, I thought if I said that, then he wouldn't think that we were actually on acid. He's like, "This is the stupidest logic I've ever fucking heard. What do you mean?" I'm like, I don't know. I was on the spot, Boots. I don't know. You were talking like you're black and scholarly and you have swastikas, and then my parents, and he's like, "Shut up. What if they come back? what if they come back? And so he's having some sort of weird tantrum freak out himself. And, this is not helping me. I'm freaking out. Sure enough, 3 or 4 COs come back. And they say, do you want to tell the captain what you just told me? So I have like a chance to redeem myself at this point. So I look at him again. And I just start going, no what? And I'm like, this time I don't say anything. I'm just nodding my head. I'm about to, I know you're expecting me to blurt, I'm on acid, but I didn't do it. This time I stayed good. And captain's like, speak, Leone. They always say my name wrong. Same with telemarketers. I always know if it's a telemarketer. Like, hey, is Ryan Leone there? This is the IRA. Click. Same thing with COs. They always call me Leone. What's the matter with you, Leone? What's the matter with you, Leone? And I'm like, it's just too much. It's just too much. And I go, look, my dead girlfriend sent me acid, and me and this dude are tripping right now. And Boots just goes and sits in his bed and like opens a book. Like somehow that's gonna get him out of this situation. And they say, cuff up, Leone. And Boots gets up and he's cuffing up. He's looking at me, eyes saucer, and he's just like, you piece of shit. So we both cuff up. And they take us both out of there. And they can tell that we're on something. I mean, our pupils are swollen. They're huge. It's like there's no longer any color in my eyes. It's just black. I look like I'm tripping. I told the other CO that I was, and now I'm kind of being nonsensical to the captain. And the captain, it's a higher rank, so it's the kind of person that you don't want to... You want to give straight answers to somebody like that that's in that position of power, whether it be the warden, whether it be the captain, the lieutenant. It's not just your regular CO. It's like they go on these power trips. They have this inflated self-esteem. So if you don't address them like they're actually above you, there's always going to be consequences. Time and time again. That is tried and true. Done a lot of prison time, and I've noticed that is a commonality amongst all the lieutenants, captains, wardens. They're always on some power trip, and they always are condescending, and they patronize you, and et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know where they take Boots, but they take me to what's called an observation cell. An observation cell has a camera, and it has a bucket that you're supposed to take a shit in. And what it's reserved for, namely, is if you go to visit, one of the most common methods of getting drugs into visit is the balloon. You pass balloons back and forth through a visit. Someone comes to visit you, usually a female, take it out. Usually they have it in their vagina. You go to the bathroom, take it out, put it in their mouth, and then they have a glob of Vaseline behind their ear, or the inmate has the Vaseline behind their ear, and you put that on the balloon, and it gives it the... why can't I think of the word? It makes it slick and it goes down your throat. It gives it the lubrication. It's a good word. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. It gives it the lubrication needed to go down your throat. And sometimes they see you, or sometimes they have intel that this balloon pass is going to go down. And if they catch you, they will put you in an observation cell. So... also, when they suspect you of being on drugs, they do the same, and you're supposed to shit because it'll pass through, and then some CO has a job of wearing gloves and mashing your shit up and extracting the balloons so that they can prosecute you for the drugs or for trying to introduce contraband to an institution. That's a common charge if you get caught bringing balloons in through visit. And, they knew that I was on something. There's no reason that one day I'm not acting like a lunatic, and the next day I can barely talk, and I'm telling one of the COs that I'm on acid. So they put me in there, and they take off all my clothes. So I have to strip out, right? And I remember that felt really uncomfortable. You get used to having to get naked, and I'm really comfortable being naked now. I went to Burning Man in 2008, and that was before I'd been to prison, but I'd already been to jail a number of times. And, I was like completely comfortable with nudity to the point where I walked around for an entire 24 hours just with the sombrero on, completely naked, drinking beers. And it was a very liberating experience. I recommend that everybody try that. And I mean, just, throughout the years of institutionalism, I've had all sorts of situations where I've been naked, and it makes me more comfortable. I mean, think about it. As however old you are, if you haven't been to jail or prison, how many situations have you been in where you're naked with a bunch of strangers? Probably very few. And if you answered something different to that, then I don't know what to tell you. You're probably doing something you shouldn't be doing. Lots of nudity in jails and prisons. But, a little side note, because I think this is kind of funny. In Santa Barbara County Jail, back when I first started going there, every Sunday they have linen exchange, and it's called the Weenie Walk. That was the nickname that the inmates had dubbed it. It's called the Weenie Walk. And what happens on Sundays in Santa Barbara County Jail is they bring a big laundry basket, this big thing on wheels, to the cell. All the cells there are bars. There are these tanks, right? So they bring this big laundry cart and they wheel it in. And everybody has to strip down when the COs get there. Everybody strips down. You throw all of your dirty linen in this big bin, and you're butt naked. So you have to, like some people hold their crotch, and you have to get in a line, and you have to walk naked all the way down this hallway and down this flight of stairs, and you're like butt naked, and then you'll see other guys from other tanks that are like getting their linen at the same time. It happened every Sunday. It was really weird because you'd be naked and you'd like run into someone you'd know, and you'd be like, "Hey, what's up, Nick?" And like you're butt naked doing this, and it was just kind of a bizarre thing. So everyone called it Weenie Walk. Well, I was in there. I was probably like 18 or 19, and this is in a tank where there was like only like 13 or 14 inmates. It was Back Central 1. It's men's general population. Back Central 1 now is women's protective custody, but back in those days, in the mid-2000s, it was general population for men. So I told everyone, like I said, it's a small tank. I said, hey, they're about to do Weenie Walk at 10:30 in the morning. We should all just strip before they get here, like 10 minutes before they get here, and we'll all just do like what we normally be doing. Like, you guys over there play poker, but you'll be naked. I'm going to stand on the payphone and I'll be naked. And like these guys over here, you guys do burpees and you'll be naked. And it'll be hilarious, right? Like they walk in the hallway, like down this tier, and they look into this tank expecting us about to do linen exchange, and we all have to like line up and take our clothes off. But when the CO comes, we're all naked, like playing checkers and like watching TV and like eating burritos naked. And so we did it, and I'll never forget it. Soon as the CO saw us like that, like he walked by, kind of took a double take, and his face was awashed with panic. And he hits his button, which is like the panic button. It's the deuces. He hits his deuces. Like 30 cops come running from every direction. They think that maybe they thought a sex riot was going to pop off. I don't know what they thought, but they're like, everybody on the ground. And we're just like, dude, it was a joke. You're making a strip for Weenie Walk anyway. And they gave us some warning. They said that if we ever did that again, we'd get written up for like homosexual activity. It was really funny. But anyway, back to me tripping on acid. This was like 6 years later or something, whatever, 2009. So they stripped me out. And like I said, I'm normally ready, or like I'm comfortable with being naked. But in this particular instance, I wasn't. I think it was just because the acid made me over analytical, as we talked about, and I just started thinking about my body. And I got on this really weird trip. They left me alone. So I'm naked, no sheet, no clothes, shivering naked. LSD's electrical anyway. It's like an electric high. You're like, you shiver with electricity, or at least I do. So you're already kind of cold when you're frying on acid. And now I'm butt naked, and I'm on this really weird, hyper insecure trip about my body. I'm obese from the methadone. Right now I'm 180. When I was like a junkie in my early 20s, I was like 120. I'm 180 now, and I like work out, and I'm in reasonably good shape. But at this period, I had been on methadone for a few years. I went up to 230 pounds, and I'm 5'6". I had a straight Danny DeVito body, like straight up. Like everyone called me the Guido Thug because I was all tan but like super fat with no muscle. I had like muscle atrophy and was all like, So I started really tripping about my body. That's like what I'm really on. I'm really on this, or I'm like self-loathing. Of course, I look down at my dick and it looks really small. I mean, it's cold and I don't have the biggest dick anyway, but it's like not that small. It's like average. I've always measured that by girls when I'm fighting with girlfriends. They never say that. Like, well, your dick is small. I'm like, I hear other girlfriends say that to them, and they've never said that to me. So I feel like that might mean something, but I don't know. It's not that big. But when I was tripping, it was shriveled up. And I'm not shaving my pubes at the time because I'm in jail and I'm kicking methadone. So I just kind of gave up on that. Plus, I wasn't having sex with Jenny before, so I wasn't even shaving. So I have this big chia pet looking bush. And I have this shriveled up dick, and it's like this big, like abnormally smaller than it normally is. It looks like a root beer barrel that somebody sucked on and threw on like a barbershop floor. So there's like all these just random pubic hairs surrounding this little wet root beer barrel. That's what it looked like to me while I was tripping. And I remember it terrified me. I was just like, oh, I'm fat. And my dick is so small, like, and my personality kind of sucks too. I'm kind of screwed, like, and my girl's dead. Like, I'm never gonna get a girl again. Start really like getting into my own head about the size of my dick. I mean, and with acid, it lasts for 14 hours. I mean, this goes on for hours. I'm in this observation cell, sitting there, kind of touching my dick and crying. Butt naked, just kind of playing with my shriveled up dick while I'm being recorded in the observation cell by a camera. It must have looked so ridiculous. This fat guy kind of like, touching his dick and crying while he's doing it. And I was on that trip for like a long time. Now, I don't get vivid like apparition hallucinations. Like I don't see vivid hallucinations on LSD for some reason. I did on that drug Marazine, taken peyote twice. I got really intense visuals off that. Little bit off mushrooms. LSD has always been more melty, like things like kind of melt, but I don't have like full-blown hallucinations on it. When I was hanging out with Sass and those guys, they used to love to dose people with psychedelics without you knowing, put little mushroom caps on a pizza, and like you go over there and you guys are like watching a movie and you're like eating these, this pizza, and then they're like, oh, you just took mushrooms. It's like 3 a.m. on like a Tuesday, and you're like, what? And one time I went over to their house and they were all drinking, and right when I get there, like, Ryan will do it. Ryan will do anything. Won't you, Ryan? We have some German beer, man. I bet you can't drink it in one shot. I bet he can. Ryan can do anything. I'm like, I can drink a beer in one gulp. What do you mean? Of course I can. I'm like 20 at the time. I'm like, I can do more drugs than you kind of mentality. So I get the beer, down it. Everyone starts applauding. You just took 10 hits of acid. I'm like, what? And it was Jenny and I were going to Disneyland the next day, and I'd just gone over to that house to get like 10 or 15 pounds of weed. I think it was Headband or Bubba Kush or Trainwreck, one of those strains that were popular back in those times. It was like 2007, 2008. And, you just took 10 hits of acid. And I'm like, oh my God. And so anyway, make a long story short, sorry I'm kind of meandering and going back on these different like smaller stories, but That night, when I took that 10 hits acid, I'd never taken 10 hits of like good LSD at once. Well, now when I was in high school, they had the blotter and they had some like really garbage acid. You could take 20 hits of that stuff and it was whatever. And we used to do stuff like that pretty frequently. But these guys had real LSD. They would get it in crystal, so like a gram's like that big. And we would do thumbprints. We would just put our thumbs on the gram of LSD. And if you do a thumbprint like that on a gram, because it's crystallized. That's how they synthesize it. LSD comes in crystal form. And then you mix it with like, Absolute vodka or very sanitized water, and you kind of just shake it up. We'd do it in Visine bottles or whatever, and then it would turn the crystal into LSD. But sometimes you could just do the thumbprint, and it would seep through the pores in your thumb, and we would trip on acid for like 3 days. So point is like we were used to enduring very heavy psychonaut acid trips, 2-3 days of tripping, stuff like you'd see in Fear and Loathing where stuff gets really weird after a couple days. This particular night, though, I took 10 hits of this liquid stuff, and this stuff was like the best acid I'd ever done. If anyone remembers How I Made $500,000 in a Year, Part 1, the first time I went to Sass's house and that guy with the ponytail came and like they were like, hey, you want to take some acid? That guy came and brought me this little drop vial, and they're like, you only need 1, and I ended up taking 3, and I had this horrible hellacious trip. This was 10 of that, so 10 times that. And I remember when it started kicking in, I got very sick and I threw up. It was very strong. 10 hits of this, it was like real pure LSD. And I remember I started seeing snakes. And like the carpet had started kind of swaying a little bit. And it looked like it was all in one motion almost. And then I looked and I realized that it was snakes. Hundreds of them interconnected with different colors and like complex, different textures on them, patterns. And they were just all kind of intertwined and moving in one direction, pulsating. And I remember being petrified. And I'm sitting on the couch and it felt like I was on some raft of safety. Like, oh my God. Look at the snakes. And this guy walks in. And he's wearing a safari outfit. He's got the hat. He's got the binoculars, the high white socks. And he looks very serious, like he's there to take care of business. And he's like, did you sign the Snake Ordinance? I don't know what kind of accent it is. Did you sign the Snake Ordinance? I'm in New York or something. I'm like, the Snake Ordinance? He's like, the Snake Ordinance. To make the snakes go away. And I'm like, no, but I will. So he gives me the clipboard, and I could feel the pen, and I could feel the clipboard. I signed the Snake Ordinance or whatever, and as soon as I did that, it all just disappeared. All of the snakes just went away. And so did the guy. And that was the most vivid hallucination that I had ever gotten on LSD. I kid you not, the time that I'm naked in the hole in federal prison after I have basically told on myself that I'm tripping, and they have me in this observation cell and I'm naked and I'm fat, I'm playing with my own dick and I'm crying on camera, I see the Snake Ordinance guy walk by, right? He walks down the tier because there's like a little square window that you can look by. And I see him, and he's kind of just like walking by the cell, and he looks at me. And I look at him, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, I saw him, and I remembered from last time that he made it all go away. So I'm hoping that the Snake Ordinance guy can do it again. And now I'm positive that I took a lot more than 2 hits of blotter acid because I'm having vivid hallucinations, and it's not like Marazine where I don't know I'm tripping. I think the being confined in prison and then being confined in the hole, and now I'm in like the hole of the hole. I'm in the observation. It cannot get worse than this. And I'm naked on camera. There's probably guys eating Cooler Ranch Doritos, like entertained by this, like it's in some control room. At least that's how I imagined it. So I go up to the window and I'm like, hey, Snake Ordinance guy! And you just hear somebody down the tier, because, like, you know, the observation cell is still connected to the rows of the special housing unit, so it's still in the rows of the hole. And you hear someone go, Shaky Jake? I don't know who it is. Can't tell what race. Hello? I'm thinking it's the Snake Ordinance guy. Shaky Jake! And I'm like, oh my God. The only people that call me Shaky Jake are the people that want to kill me on 7 South. So I just go quiet. And I'm like, oh, I go sit back on the little, like, slab of concrete or whatever. And then you hear, Shaky Jake! And I'm like, I just want the Snake Ordinance guy to come. Yo, Shaky Jake! And I'm like, ugh. Like, what's up? What's up? Nothing. And I'm like, oh my God. They're messing with me. I'm like, hello, it's Shaky Jake. Nothing. I go back on the slab, and then all of a sudden I hear, Shaky Jake! And this goes on for like 10 minutes, just this back and forth thing. Finally I go, who is that? Shut the fuck up. And then you just hear this chorus in unison. Shaky Jake! Shaky Jake! And it's echoing all throughout the tier and down in all of the hole. Shaky Jake! Shaky Jake! And I'm like, shut up! Shut up! And I'm just hitting the wall. I'm like, help me! Help me! And the guard finally shows up. And he's like, hey, the hell is wrong with you? And I'm like, they're yelling at me. They're calling me by my nickname, and I know that they want to kill me. You need to let me out of here. I need to sign the ordinance. He's like, what ordinance? I'm like, the fucking Snake Ordinance. And he's just like, Jesus Christ, dude. I'm getting medical, man. What are you on? What are you on, bro? Help me out. What have you taken? And I'm like, I'm not on anything. I just want to sign the fucking ordinance. So the staff comes. Probably like 30 minutes later, I'm sitting there, I'm shivering, I'm crying. I'm so petrified because now I think there's this like entire army of 7 South people that I owe money to. Probably Boots wants to kill me because I essentially gave him up as one of my, co-conspirators in my LSD trip. And there's just a group of people saying Shaky Jake all over again. I'm freaking out, and I'm scared, and I'm fat, and my dick is small. And finally, the nurse shows up with like 2 other doctors. And she's like, hey, honey, what you on, baby? Nice older black lady. What you on, baby? And I'm like, I'm not on anything. I just don't feel good. I just don't feel good. She's like, you didn't take no drugs? And I'm like, no, I don't do drugs. I don't do drugs. She's like, what are you in prison for? I'm like, selling heroin. She's like, uh-huh. You ain't on nothing? I'm like, no, I'm not on anything. I don't feel good. She's like, okay, I can help. I can help you. I'm like, okay, thank you. Meal slot opens. And it's a fucking 800 milligram ibuprofen. Thank you for watching.